Hello and welcome back. Now, up to this point in our system analysis topic, we've looked at three things. We've looked at what is project management and the role and skills of a project manager. We've looked at the various stages of the system development life cycle, and we've looked at also the methodology of prototyping. Now, the second part of this system analysis topic is that of looking at data flow diagrams. Now, how does this all tie together? Well, you may recall that in the system development life cycle, we have a stage called design. So we have preliminary analysis, and design. Now, in the design phase, various tools can be used. So if you were to start writing a computer program, you would want to design it first. You'd want to write out and see if it is logical. And the way you would do that, you would use pseudocode. And as I've said previously, we will be looking at pseudocode when we come on to the programming topic. When we are creating systems and we want to create a nice efficient system where we know information is going and how it's being processed, then we use data flow diagrams. And data flow diagrams is merely a graphical tool to show the flow of information within a system. Now, data flow diagrams have a hierarchy. So at the top is something called a context diagram. And this gives an overview of what's going on. When we dig deeper and we drill down to see more detail within a system, that's when we come into looking at data flow diagrams. Now, in this video, I'm going to give you more of an explanation of what context diagrams are. Let's have a look at the board. So here is a context diagram, and as I've just said, this is part of a data flow diagram. It just gives an overview of what is going on. The first thing to take note is this great big circle here, and inside the circle it says social club system. So the first thing to note is when you are drawing this top level hierarchy diagram of a data flow diagram, this is called a context diagram, and the context diagram has one great big circle, and you put the name of the system in that circle. So basically what we are saying about this great big circle is that all the processing, where the information flows to, where it is stored, what happens to that information, it's all found in that circle. And because it's a top level, we're not worried about the detail at the moment. We're simply saying that all the processing, all the storage, all the data being moved is found inside that circle. Now, the circle also represents a boundary. The boundary within a context diagram is where the designer is making a decision as to what is found inside and what is found outside the system. So a context diagram is a representation of a boundary. What is found outside and what is found inside the system. Now, there's also some other things going on in this context diagram as well. We have these squares. We have member, social club committee, and local newspaper. These squares are called entities, and they are described as a noun. So a member, a social club committee, a local newspaper. And an entity can be a person, a thing, a job, as long as it's a noun. And these entities are what are showing what information is put into the system and what information comes out of the system into these entities. So these entities are interacting with the system itself. The last thing to take note of are these arrows with details on them. These arrows are data flow, and it's showing specifically what data is going into the system, what data is coming out. So, for example, here is a member interacting with the social club system. What is the data that is moving between these two things here, the entity and the system? Well, the member would be putting member details into the system. Information that is coming out from this social club system would be detail confirmation and coming activities description. And we'll look in more detail as to how that's come about. So just to recap, in this part we're looking at data flow diagrams. The top tier of data flow diagrams is called a context diagram. The context diagram will just have one big circle, and in that circle is the name of the system. Around that circle are entities represented in squares, and these are people, things, jobs, etc. But they are described as a noun, and they show what entities are interacting with the system. And then we have the arrows, the data flow arrows, showing with the detail on those arrows what data is moving in. So your context diagram acts as a boundary where the designer has given some thought as to what information and what processes are found within the system, and this is not shown in a context diagram. And it will also show what is out of the system, and these would be the entities and information going in. Okay, so that's your context diagram. In the next video, we'll look a bit more detail into what is a data flow diagram. Thank you for watching.